I read Abraham Accords.
Everything.
Abraham
Okay.
Alliance.
I love that. I love the words.
An Abraham Alliance.
It was so nice. It was so
Hello?
It was very good.
for her to have the.
Perfect.
Is that really true? You sure this?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh my God.
You want the exact quote? I'll
It's
find it for you.
just so.
She's
It's
sick.
yeah. To say that it was the worst speech.
Who said it was the worst?
Pelosi.
She's sick.
Pelosi
Yeah, but you
reaction.
heard what his own, you heard what the Israeli
Okay.
elite did.
Oh, the Israeli hate him more than Pelosi.
Thank God.
What they did.
No,
they
they're
wrote the thing
animals.
here that-
They're animals. The
Oh, no.
Israeli left is sicker.
No, it was the center too, the moderates do.
No.
Yeah,
Former
former
speaker
head of
named-
Mossad, Shin Bet, this, that, it's the whole thing, the Post, Jerusalem Post today.
Okay.
I was shaking reading it. I said, how dare they do this on the day he goes to Congress?
You ready? Benjamin Netanyahu's presentation in the House chamber today was by far the worst presentation of
Just
any
leave it.
foreign dignitary invited and honored
leave
with
it
the
the way
privilege
it
of
is.
addressing the Congress of the United States.
Why?
I was 3 minutes late.
There's nothing to it.
That's where I was. What do you gotta make without?
She was worried. She can't worry.
She wrote that on X.
That's harsh.
We put it on you now?
Anybody else?
Okay.
What'd you say now? Why you put it on me?
Excuse
The
me.
cake is fresh out of
Excuse
the
me,
oven.
Linda said I have to have a piece of
Fresh
cake.
out of the oven?
I have to have a piece of
What
cake.
kind of, who made that cake?
I'll put you
It's the Abahu Lionai.
Oh, that's great. Ronnie, put me a piece also. I'll taste it.
You heard the quote now?
Yeah, what?
You heard the quote?
No, mommy was talking to me.
Benjamin Netanyahu's presentation in the House chamber today was by far the worst presentation of any foreign dignitary invited and honored with the privilege of addressing the Congress of the United States.
Gosh, she's great.
That's what she wrote on Twitter.
Maybe she'll get struck down now.
Yeah.
But they don't get struck down, you know.
No, we got partner.
Yeah.
We gonna win.
Yeah, I brought this.
No, no, they're losing.
Great. Oh, it's so delicious. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So,
we have to pray that Hashem
Strikes lightning.
is moving the pieces around in such a way as for this to come out. You know, like last week, they want to curse you, and Hashem turned it to a beracha. Let Hashem turn all of this to beracha. The Israeli left, if you hear them, they sound worse than Pelosi.
Yes.
You know, the left are really sick. They're really sick people, and they can bring about the most horrible results. You know, but he spoke. You know what was good? He spoke as the leader of the world, and that was what was nice. And with that kind of compassion, he spoke. We have to do this. We, us, thing, the nation, Israel, America, evil. Everything was good.
He hit every point.
I'm telling you, there was nothing about the speech that wasn't good. And he brought soldiers. It was very nice. He brought soldiers. He brought the girl.
Oh, yeah, and the Bedouin and
an Ethiopian.
Yeah.
8 miles the guy ran.
Right.
8 miles. He
Thank
heard
God he
there's a
survived.
fight on the day that October 7th. He got his equipment. He has no car. He ran 8 miles to the border and started fighting. It's 8 miles. I don't care what you say, you know. He ran there with his equipment. You know, he's not in shorts and a t-shirt and sneakers. He ran and then he started fighting. Brave people, very.
About 8 blocks.
About 8 blocks, right? Yeah. And then the other guy, he showed him. He lost his arm. He lost his. He lost an eye.
It's very moving.
Very,
Very moving.
very sensitive. Very well done. Everything about it was good. I mean, what do you want more from the guy? What do you want more from perfect speech, well done, and he articulates better than the president of the United States could articulate. You know, He graduated, he says, he talked about the universities. They couldn't say that that's bad, that a problem. And he says, one of them was my alma mater, MIT.
Yeah.
He says, you know, he's a graduate from MIT. It's very hashuv. It's like, you know, brilliant, capable. What do you want better? Hey, how you doing? Good evening. You could sit here and here, sit next to your Isha. Sorry, that's not someone as me.
Excuse me, but tougher than dealing with
No,
the nations of the earth.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
dealing with Israelis,
Dealing with Israelis, yes, impossible situation.
impossible.
We left this so
Impossible.
that you could get through, but nobody else.
Thank you.
Right, right. I don't know. I really, when I finish watching that, I just pray that God will just turn the situation around. I mean, like last week with Bilam, you know, like you look back and say Hashem turned it into a beracha, turned all of this into a positive thing.
No, it was Yetziat Mitzrayim. Why couldn't Pharaoh just let them out at the beginning? Why do you need all those plagues? You know,
Right.
Build it.
Right.
No, not yet, not yet.
Not yet, not till it's the right time, yeah. So hopefully, we have to hope. Look, there are a lot of people in Israel, look, the judiciary, the media, the newspapers, you know, television in Israel. It's terrible. If you hear them talking, you'll think you're listening, huh?
That's what you Spotify was there today.
Yeah,
You touched on that.
came up. So if you don't recognize, you know, you have to recognize that that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a world in Israel that it's a problem. In Israel, you listen to the Israeli left, you'll think, and by the way, who got killed on October 7th?
Left.
There was no right wingers.
Peaceniks.
There were only left wingers, only.
Oh,
So you'd think that they,
Oh,
you know, so those people who got affected, yes, but how about the rest of the left? Just say, you know, back off. But they don't back off. It's incredible, incredible. To us, these things are precious.
Yeah,
To-
the right is
To Nancy Pelosi, it isn't, huh?
very tough too.
Right? The world's a very strange place, a crazy place. Crazy things going on all the time. People are nutty on so many fronts, right? The human race. It's the human race.
Yeah.
So, and the world knows it's on the brink of, God forbid, disaster. It knows it because it senses it with China. It senses it with Russia. It senses, you know, the vibes are so clear of how things are headed. Clear. It's not complicated.
percentage of American preppers before used to be like 3 or 4%. It's now up to 20.
What?
Preppers,
Peppers are 20%.
World War III.
not up 20%. 20% of the population are quote unquote preppers.
I don't know the expression prepper.
You don't never hear of doomsday preppers?
No.
They're building their bunkers.
They build
Like,
bunkers, they
like
stock food.
planning, yeah,
Oh, planning.
ready for systemic breakdown.
Right, right.
Systemic breakdown. You had the computer failure, just
I read a terrible article in the Wall Street Journal about how in Israel and the Rambam hospital, 3 flights down underground, they're preparing for the war.
Yeah.
And they have blood plasma and they're preparing for
massive casualties.
thousands of
Massive
casualties,
There's parking
thousands.
lots, and every parking space, every underground parking space
Yeah.
has in the wall,
Yeah,
machinery, oxygen.
right, right,
you know, they need.
right. And they're preparing for a breakdown in the infrastructure, electricity, you know, and so on and so forth. People are filling their shelters with a long supply of, you know, water and food, more than usual. And people have go packs. They call them go packs, so that when you go to work, they have in their hands a supply of, you know, I guess of food, like something to keep you going, like till I guess till you get to a bomb shelter or whatever you know, because you're out in. You're not home, you're out of work. So it was terrifying to read it, terrible. And they're preparing for it. And now he left the door open. He said he left the door open for the war to start when he gets back. Clearly, when he said those words, it was, you heard it?
Yeah.
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 Like, yeah, we have 80,000 people displaced. They have to go back home. You can't leave them, it's our country, and you can't leave it. So how she can call a conversation about that horrible? What did he do? He said that Iran was evil. They are. Everybody knows that. It's not a hadush. It's not anything. So every single word he said was very basic. The thing, what happened on October 7th, it's a crime. How could you not call it a crime? How can you not call it the most horrible thing? Everything was straight. Am I right? You heard it, Ronnie. Everything was straight. Nothing complicated about the talk. It wasn't an over the top, complicated. It was straight. That's all he said. That's all he spoke about the whole time. We have to fight a war. We have no choice, right?
Yeah.
We want peace. What do they want him to say? They just hate him. It was a great speech. It was right on. I wonder what goes on in Israel and the commentators when they're commenting while he's talking on the TV while they're listening.
CNN was talking to a couple of guys afterwards from Israel,
Yeah,
and they were very critical too of him.
No, because he's.
They
Unbelievable.
have been for a long time.
Yeah, they went after him again, like this is just a political thing. He's trying to store up his base in Israel. And
Israelis are saying
Yeah,
that.
because they don't care anymore.
Expected
They're
to step
done.
down already.
They're done.
Unbelievable.
Frank, let's start.
Yeah, we started. This is we started. So okay, today we can talk about Pinhas. That's why I brought down these sheets. Right?
You recording?
Yeah, I started it. I knew you were gonna ask me, so I started it. Right. Okay. Let's just take a look real quick. Pinhas,
You don't believe it? Usually it's on the screen. I didn't see it.
what the heck?
I feel bad for the people if it was not on.
No, it's on. There's nobody there. It's just recording.
the people in the future.
In the future, yeah. Today we made the today's podcast was overview. It was great. It was an overview of the first 18 Mizmorim because we're turning to the 19th Mizmor. So in the book, I give an overview every time I go to a major commentary. I give an overview of everything in between. So we decided to go to 19 because 19 is about a subject that everybody knows. The 19th Mizmor. It's about creation and the Garden of Eden. So I like talking about it at the beginning of these podcasts. It was originally going to be the first thing in my book. I was going to start on 19, but they didn't like the idea that I wasn't starting on 1, which turns out to be good. But I wanted to go to 19 because 19 talks about Hashamayim Misaperim K'vodil, the one you say on Shabbat, the first one. And it has the entire subject is familiar to everybody. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows the words. Everybody knows the story and familiarity. So it's easy to teach. And in a podcast, it's super easy because people are listening. Difficulty with the podcast, to be honest with you, is every time I'm talking, Rabbi Ralphie reminds me, don't forget we're talking to somebody on a bike, in a car, they're running, they're on a treadmill, they're working out, they're in the subway. And I'm getting too complicated. You have to make it super, not dumbed down. You have to say it in such a way as they follow.
They don't have a book in front of them when they talk.
They don't have a book. They're not looking. They don't know the text. Who is our audience? We're making our audience be, I have no choice, a high school graduate from yeshiva. Not even a graduate, just they're in high school. They're in high school. In other words, you're familiar with a little bit of, I say a little bit of Hebrew, you're familiar with text, you're familiar with you quote something and you don't translate every single word. You're comfortable with that?
With Hebrew, yes.
Yeah.
I can understand it.
You can,
But
yeah.
I don't know enough, I didn't learn enough
Right.
about Tehillim, so like,
Right,
as
of
you were
course.
starting and
Yeah,
you were talking about your neon,
Yeah,
spelling it out,
yeah.
that was exactly the spot where it was hard to find, where you can't follow.
right,
But then you went right into it, and you
Right.
said all the stuff.
Right.
It was perfect.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
awesome.
Trying to do that, so
Yeah.
it's hard.
I'm enjoying it.
It's Hollywood. It's a, you have to script it, you have to talk what we're gonna talk about. The reason it's not super hard is because Ralphie is a natural. He's an entertainer. It's like like Hurdle, like like his father. The jokes come naturally to him. Everything is natural. He just talks and he's doing it. So it's great. Okay, Pinhas. I think let's take a look at it because he's the one that right in the beginning says Heshivit Hamati Bikanot Kenati B'Tocham, and I didn't wipe them out. Therefore, Lachen, therefore Emor, say, Hanini Noten Lo Et Briti Shalom. So Pinhas gets a Brit Shalom. Brit Shalom meaning a Brit of peace, meaning protection, because they're going to go after him for what he did, for his for the position he took. So V'ayta lo zeh Brit Kunat Olam, forever Tat Asher Kineh Elohav, because he was jealous for God. V'chaper al Bnei Yisrael, he made kapara.
That's two different things.
And what's that?
Isn't that two different things? That's two different things.
As opposed to what? What do you mean?
The Shalom is, he said, because they're going to come after him.
He's going to protect him, and he is going to be he's going to protect him, and he's going to be in a berit of the kehuna. The kehuna is going to be with him, right? It's first and foremost, you have to protect him because they're going to want to go after him. You killed somebody, we're not going to let you get away with it, etc. The other one is he gets berit kehuna to him. And
more psychological peace because he went killed somebody.
Well, protection, peace.
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind, yeah.
Well, because they're not going to kill you.
No,
No, not like that.
The
No.
Reb says that.
No,
He says
that's one of the,
one of the opinions
that
that-
I saw.
Yeah, I know that's one of the opinions.
Because when you kill somebody,
Yeah,
you just get affected. You just.
I don't think he had that problem. I think he had the problem of people coming after him to kill him. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. The scene with Pinhas is a scene of one person who's a priest.
He's not a priest.
He is a priest.
He wasn't. That was the part of the thing.
No,
Also,
that's a different.
He was a wannabe.
no, he was given because he wasn't invited before.
Because when
He's Elazar's son, there's no reason.
What do you think he was if he would look at his lineage?
He wasn't born in
His father was born.
But he was
Yeah, but he wasn't
He was
born.
already born
His
when he
father
was
was
dead.
anointed.
Hashem only made Aaron and the 4 boys Kohanim. He didn't make the great sons who were alive.
That's when he gave.
Right, that's what he gave.
Another opinion.
Right, but if you look at the Torah, what you just now said,
Yeah.
right? It's true if you look in the strict sense of the way you're trying to analyze it. But why don't you? No, that's the point. The Peshat is that of course he's a priest, and all you have to do is turn to Shemot chapter 6, please. Because all you have to do is read the genealogy there. You know, we're going to have a genealogy over here in Pinhas right now. After this, we're going to have a genealogy after the sacrificial procedures. Over here in Shemot, in chapter 6, you take a look at verse 13. Chapter 6, verse 13. Done. You're going to read about this week. This week, you're gonna read this, another genealogy. You see these names, right? But over here, there's an abbreviated genealogy. It's not a full genealogy because it has an objective. It is only mentioning Reuben, so it could get to the soon, you'll see where. It's going to do Shimon, Bnei Shimon, Yemuel, Yamin, Bad, Again, Shaul ben Akanite, El Mishrat Shimon. Stop. This genealogy is only being put down. Get another book. This genealogy.
No, I'm good, I'm good.
We have a lot of
I'm
them.
I can't
good.
see the book.
I promise you I'm good, I'm
I can't
good.
see.
No, please, I'm good. I'm good,
They're-
we're sharing. It's
they
my
are
husband.
Their husband
I'm
and wife.
good,
I
I'm
see.
good,
All the more
thank you.
reason he doesn't want to know.
Thank you.
The whole objective of this genealogy was not to, it only mentions the two because you're going to say genealogy and you're just not going to start off with Levi. So Reuben, a quickie, Shimon, a quickie, which again, you're going to hear about all of that. You're going to hear every tribe this week. And then it says, the Elib Shemot b'nei Levi. This is the names of the Levi. The taught Gershon, Kehat, and Merari, famous the three children of Levi. And of course, as you all know, Moshe comes from Kehat, right? Because his father is Amram, right? So here it is. He lives 137 years. You all know, of course, that 137 means 13 and 7. 130 years and 7 years. Amram. So there's Kehat, is Amram, Yitzhar, Hebron, Uziel, Ushne Haye Kehat. And his life was Shalosh Ushashim at Shana, 133 years. Yeah. What is 133, Ronnie? You're good at math?
120 and 13.
No. What's it divisible by? Figure it out. Yes. Then Ubnei Merari, Mahli, Umushi, and so they're Merari's kids. So you had Levi, you have Gershon, Kehat, Merari, and you have the children. Good? Everybody with me? I'm in verse 19.
Yeah.
Eli, are you with me?
No.
No. So we're in Shemot, chapter 6, verse 19.
Yeah.
Help them get there.
There's no chapter 6 here.
No.
Crazy?
Up there.
Oh, chapter 6.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. Got it. And now you want verse 19, which is going to be on the right side of at the bottom. Right? Are you good?
Yeah.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
I got it.
Okay, good. Okay. So now it switches to Amram and tells you about that family. That he got married. It tells you about his wife. Doesn't tell you about anybody else. You see where this genealogy is going. Moshe. So now you have Moshe and Aharon. You got the genealogy took you on a fast track, right? On a fast track to Moshe and Aharon, Moshe, Amram, Sheva, Ushashim, Machana. How long does Amram live? Huh? 137 again. There's the 13 and 7. There are those numbers again, which are going to come up this week in this week's parasha. Right? Ubnei Yitzhar, Korah, V'nefeg, V'zichri. Yitzhar, who's Yitzhar? Anybody know? Who's Amram's brother is Yitzhar. If you go back a little shot, you'll see it, right? It says, look, go back to verse. That's it. You see, Ubnei Kehat's kids are Amram, Yitzhar, and Hebron. So now, after it talks to you about Moshe, it talks about his brother, Amram's brother, Yitzhar.
This is Moshe's first cousin.
Not yet. Moshe's uncle.
Right.
Moshe's uncle. And now it's going to say the children who are going to be the first cousins of Moshe. Who are they? Bnei Yitzhar, Korah, V'nefeg, Zichri. Korah, everybody know who that guy is?
Cousin Korah.
That's the bad guy, cousin Korah, who tried to do away with him, correct? Tried to send them off to Never Land. Ubnei Uziel, you have cousins, great. Mishael, El Tzafan v'Sifti, Vayikach Aharon, Now, it goes to Aaron and it talks about who, it doesn't tell you who Moshe got married to.
No.
You see clearly where this is going, right?
Yeah.
It shot you all the look, it goes down the line, it's going like this. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, he had a wife. His wife was this. He had a thing. Then we go to Aaron. We're going to Aaron. And who's Aaron's wife? Her name, we've spoken about this in the past numerous times. Her name is Elisheva. My God is 7, right?
Why doesn't Hebron get acknowledged?
Right.
You have Bnei Amram, and
Yitzhak, Hebron.
it should be Bnei Hebron and Bnei Uziel.
It should be, but of course, that's not the objective.
I'm saying, why mention Bnei Uziel? Meaning, you could have just done
Right,
Amram
right,
to what we want to get to.
right.
And Ishmael because Korah is
And then you
important.
could have left the other ones out.
Yeah.
But because all the names mean something and it's trying to tell you something, right?
One after the other is strange. That's
Right.
all.
It's purposely doing that.
You should have done 2 out of 4?
Yes,
or
yes.
4 out of 4?
That's correct. That's correct. So then it says that Aaron marries Elisheva, Bat Aminadav, Ahot Nachshon, the sister of Nachshon, for a wife, Ated Lord Nadav, Abihu, Elazar, and Itamar. There is the 4 children of Aaron from Elisheva. Since we're reading this, I always say it. Who are the other women whose names are 7 in the Torah? This is the high priest's wife. Her name is Elisheva. Who's the? So there's the high priest, who's Bathsheba,
Yeah.
the king's wife. The high priest, the religious establishment, the leader of the religious establishment is Elisheva. My God is 7.
Right.
The leader of the political establishment, the monarchy, king, David is Bathsheba. There's another Sheva. The other Sheva woman.
Last week, we were talking
No,
about-
we talked about it before.
I don't remember her name.
She was very
She
brave.
also Sheva.
Her name was?
Huh?
Her name was Yehosheva. Not Elisheva, Yeho, Yud, He, Vav, God, with the name God, Yehosheva. She was the aunt of Yoash the king,
Oh, really? Okay.
who Atalia
Tried to-
kills all of her
But Yehoshua-
children and grandchildren. She's a sweet, very sweet woman. Kills all of them so she can become queen. Her kids, her grandchildren, she slaughters them.
Nice ground.
But the aunt, Yehosheva,
Saves the kid.
takes him to the temple, right? And hides him. And Yehoyada, another interesting guy, his name is Yehoyada. And the name of the king is Yehoash, Yud Ke Vav. Everybody's, all the good, great people, the name of Yud here. Yud here, Vav Sheva, Yud here, Vav
Right.
Ash, and then Yada, the kid, the priest. All the other priests are all a bunch of losers. He's the one that hides her and the baby for 7 years. Very hard to hide. You know, if they find out he's keeping the child, she'll kill him. She'll kill the kid, but she'll kill him. She'll kill everybody. She's like kill her. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, you know, right? So then it's important to be aware of that. That's what I'm telling you. Ubnei Korah. This is where the problem starts in this genealogy. What do you mean in the children of Korah? Who cares about him?
Yeah.
What does he have to do with the price of tomatoes over here? This is Moshe Rabbeinu's first cousin, Korah. Tells you who cares who his kids are. Well, his kids are Asir, Elkanah, and Abiasaph. Those 3 children, Elam Mishpachot Kohi, this is a Korhi family. Who cares about the Korah family? Right? Why is it talking about it in this genealogy? If this is a genealogy, it's an express one, right? Straight freight train going all the way through, right? Straight to the objective. All of a sudden it talks about the guy who's going to stand up and try to do away with Moshe and his children, who are these names, which we will talk about at some point in time. Elazar ben Haron, who's that? That's not Nadab and Abihu, because Nadab and Abihu, where are they?
Dead.
Dead. So Elazar is now the next guy.
They will be dead.
will be
Born
dead.
Yeah.
There, so it goes straight to Elazar. Well, Elazar ben Aharon lakach lo. It doesn't talk about them.
Doesn't talk about it.
They're out of the picture.
Well, Korach got out of the picture too, and they talk about his kids.
Well,
Yes, so that therefore you see there's an objective there,
Right.
but certainly there's an objective right now by talking about the third son's genealogy of the third son.
Genealogy.
Well, because that's where the whole genealogy is headed. Watch carefully to answer this question that I was just asked. Elazar ben Aharon lakach lo benot Putiel lo leisha. He takes from the daughters of Putiel. Vatel lo et Pinhas. The whole genealogy was headed to say that Aharon's grandson is Pinhas. El Rashi Avot Havim. That's the end. That's the wrap up. Lemishpotam. This is who they are. Who Aharon and Moshe, etc., etc., etc. etc. So it. By the way, which generation is he? He's the sixth generation. Elazar, because you have Levi, and his three sons are Geshon, Kehat, and Merari. So that's generation 2. Kehat has Amram, generation 3. Four.
Elazar's
5. So it takes you 6 generations down, and at the 6th generation it says one name.
Right. So
One name, and of course that's you have to think of that like this. It's like an arrow, all the names, and we only want to talk but tell you that we ended up with Pinhas. Pinhas, the Levi, to answer his question, right? The Levi representative, the only one we're interested in talking about at this juncture. And where are we? We're on the verge of the 10 plagues and the whole story of coming out of Egypt, etc. So it's an arrow, blinking light taking you to this person who is the one we're interested in that carries on the religious establishment of Israel's leadership. It's in his hands. And it's clearly telling you that because it's going out of its way to say nobody else. By the way, notice, of course, it doesn't say Moshe's wife or his kids. It's another blatant, that's a blatant omission, right? This is a blatant insertion. The other one is a blatant omission. Why not talk about Moshe's kids? The answer is, you know the answer.
Because they wouldn't give him an aliyah.
What's the answer, of course?
No relevant to history.
Huh?
There's no relevant to history.
His kids were screwed up.
No, not at
He
all.
didn't go into Israel?
No, not at all. What does Moshe say at the end of his life now? What does he tell Hashem? What does he say? Look it up.
Let somebody take over so that they have a leader.
Right.
He prays, let somebody take over. Where's the thing? Hashem, let my kids take over.
No, I guess he
That's
wasn't
not what he
into his
said.
kids.
He's saying-
Huh?
Right.
I guess he
No.
wasn't that into his kids.
No, he wasn't
No, he knew it
into,
was right.
because they're my kids, they become the leaders.
Right.
Right.
He wasn't into the fake
I wasn't
kind
into-
that there
he
is.
wasn't into nepotism.
Not he wasn't into nepotism.
Yeah.
He may have loved his children, everything may have been great with his children, but that gives you no right to let them be in power. So when he makes the prayer, we need a leader. We need a leader, whoever the leader is going to be. It's got to be someone who has the ability.
I like that
Not we need my kid.
As opposed
Not
to-
we need
I
my
like
kid.
that better.
It's
Right.
much
opposed to the
better.
Kohanim,
Huh?
As opposed to the Kohanim, we
Right.
go straight down the knee.
Okay, but so
It's
that's
a
why
contest.
but that's why I'm talking about it. Who do you end up with? You end up with chaos in our scene today. Chaos. The guy is a lowlife. The guy is
He's a lowlife.
idolatry. He's doing it. His name is Cosby. There's Cosby Batsur, right? And Zebedee ben Salud. Cosby means the kizib, the lie, right? The liar, the falsehood, and it's idolatry, and it's flagrant violation in front of the whole nation. I don't give a damn about anything. And but what is everybody doing? No, they're crying. They're crying. Of course, they're not standing there crying. What are you supposed to take the crying as? You know what it is. Huh?
They're paralyzed.
They're paralyzed, right? Standing there crying means the nation has reached paralysis. They can't do anything. when you see someone crying, what are you crying for? If something is going on, crying means you no longer can do anything. You're sort of powerless. And he's the one who sees himself as, well, what should I do now? That's how you think of it. Because if not for God having interceded on his behalf, he'd be dead.
Not God, Pinchas.
No, God interceding on Pinhas's behalf, he'd be dead now because he steps out and goes like this. Nobody's doing anything. I have to lose. I have no choice in the matter. I can't let this go down. And God commanded Moshe. What did he tell Moshe?
Told him, go tell them to kill all the leaders.
How? Impale them, right?
Exactly what
He
he
does
did.
exactly, he follows through exactly what it was. Well, what are you doing? You can't let the guy get away with it. Okay, it's capital punishment. Okay, but it's such a flagrant violation, you can't let it go down. But everybody does let it go down. And if you didn't do anything, nothing would happen. So of course, Pinhas is being here singled out as the leader of the what you'd call the religious establishment, the proper leader, the good leader. That's what the earlier story all the way back in Shemot is doing.
Setting up.
It's setting up, well, it's also setting up another thing. Why did it talk about Moshe's cousin? Because that's going to be the bad guy who's the leader of the political establishment and wants to do away with him, right? That's the conflation, the 250 and him and Reuben, right? And so on and so forth, right? The power guys.
As long as we're talking about setups, the omission of Moshe's kids is also a setup because later in history, his great grandson is going to be head Levite of an idolatrous temple.
Right.
At the end of Shofri.
Right. Which all the more shows you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's is it Ben Moshe or Ben Menashe?
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows?
What's the most common consensus on?
You could answer
I
your.
think it's Moshe.
Right.
I think it was inserted in
Yeah.
It's not Moshe.
Yeah.
No, meaning the noon,
Yeah.
it was Moshe, but it's
It'd be
too
nice.
hard.
It's
to read.
embarrassing, he
They
said.
want their white.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, so
But-
it's like even that could be a set, as long as you're opening up the possibility of this story being set up, that also might have been part of the idea.
It could be. But the fact of the matter is, we want to get to Pinhas. Pinhas is going to be the guy that saves the day. Who's the other Pinhas we know in Tanakh?
The horror.
Yeah.
The horrible priest.
Oh, sorry.
No, Pinhas, I said. Who's the other
No,
Pinhas?
actually,
Pinhas. His name is Pinhas. Hophni and Pinhas, the children of priests, the high priests, the ones who die on the same day as did Nadav and Avihu, and the ones who perpetrated the most heinous crimes because they were stealing, theft, the food,
Abusing power.
a sacrificial power, abusing it, a promiscuity with the women who are
The progenitor of the.
who are oppressed and who are broken and taking advantage of them. So promiscuous, stealing, lotirsah, lotinaf, and lotignov, and dishonoring God in the most horrible way. So of course, the story and that story are meant to be for you, the reader, to look at the arrows pointing both ways. Each story is informing on the other. And he comes along and sort of fixes the story, we could say. Gets it back on track. He's that kind of person. So back to where we were. You have him saying, "Vaychaper al bnei Yisrael." Those words, "Vaychaper al bnei Yisrael," at the end of verse 13, right? It says, "Vaytar lo zohara b'ri kunat olam tahat asher kineh lo lav vaychaper al bnei Yisrael." Now, what does that mean? What do you mean, "Vaychaper al bnei Yisrael"? He got rid of the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
But what does "Vaychaper al bnei Yisrael" mean?
Sounds like the Kohen Gadol job.
He made kapara for.
It sounds like the Kohen Gadol job of Kippur.
No,
It's
because
the same.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's right. It reminds you of that. He makes kapara for the whole nation. Yani, the whole nation was up the creek without a paddle.
'Cause they did
He
nothing.
saves the nation. His one action that you're seeing here, of course, this action represents much more, of course. But his kapara is the one, that's why chaper al bnei Yisrael. It's a major statement of being made about the progression of the nation's movement, and you're coming to the end of the Torah here. We're very close to the end now. Remember, we're finished. Pinhas, we are. You're laughing. It's Pinhas, Matot and Maseh is the wrap-up.
Is year 40 already
It's the
going?
closing, done. This is the end. These are the final stories, right?
Saying it's similar to the Kohen Gadol is very interesting.
Yes.
Some people say that Tiunat Olam actually means that
That
he gets
he
Kohen Gadol.
he becomes Kohen Gadol,
Because
right?
Kohen Gadol is not the term
Right,
in the Torah.
right.
So
right.
it could be meaning that would be very interesting since he made kapara
Yes,
on the nation by
Right.
stepping in.
that's
and
exactly
intervening.
right.
So he gets.
Yeah,
He merits it.
he merits it.
Yeah.
And that genealogy in the beginning in Shemot, before they leave you, that already is setting you up for that. The whole thing is all about him. Everything else falls by the wayside, so to speak.
Isn't he the
We're
same
only
Kohen?
interested in
Is he
that.
the same class as the Yiftach story?
Yeah.
As the what story?
Yiftach.
Yeah.
Well, they say yes. Only thing is, he'd be
But he doesn't look good now.
285 years old, you
Right, and he
know.
doesn't look good in that story either.
Right.
He's there in the next story with the war
Right.
when they won with Binyamin.
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
That's what
Not
he's talking.
Yiftach.
No.
Not Yiftach. Not-
Right after.
No, after. You, I knew that's what you meant.
That's a continuation of the Yiftach story.
Yeah, but it's
Because that was-
earlier.
because they
That's
asked-
the-
Yeah,
I'm saying
but
that's
it's
the
how many
earlier.
years later? How old is he?
I know.
Of course.
400.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be, and it can't be him, and is it him, and what does it mean, and what does the name mean, and so on and so forth. In any event, so at the end of the story, you're being introduced at the very beginning of this at this juncture to the Kohen, quote unquote, who takes the lead and makes kapara for the whole nation. Moving on.
But he doesn't come Kohen Gadol for a long time because Elazar is still in the.
No, but
Yoshua.
it's the
You
title.
know, he's still not the head guy anymore for a long
Right,
time.
it's the title of.
Right. It's what the Torah is now telling you and designating him.
Yeah.
That's interesting to us.
Yes.
The details are it's unimportant, so to speak. This is what's important. It's making this big deal out of it. In any event, let's just read a little bit more and say that you're going to have a genealogy over here, and when you read the genealogy, I want you to take a look at. Show it to you. Something very interesting. We were just reading because of Sauli's question. The other genealogy that we call that the abbreviated genealogy, right? It's abbreviated Eli because it's a little tiny one. This is the whole this is every single tribe now we're going to get right after the story. So it says like this: in 26, it opens up. Do a census, right? But then Moshe Elazar claim about Av, etc., from 20 years and up, etc. Verse 5. And it starts at verse 5 with Reuben. Does everybody see verse 5, Reuben?
Yeah.
It says, Reuben, b'chor Yisrael b'nei Reuben. We just read this about Reuben 2 minutes ago. Yes, everybody? It was at the beginning of the other genealogy, right? Raquel, we did it like, we said we're only mentioning him so we could get to the Reuben, a little teeny weeny one that was about, okay, got it right. Boom, now we got to the stuff. You good, Mars? Everything good?
Yeah.
So now, Reuben, Bechor Yisrael, Bnei Reuben, Hanoch, Mishpat Hanochi, the fellow Mishpat Fellowi, the Hesor Mishpat Hesoni, the Karmi Mishpat Karmi. Good? Straight, simple. אלה משפחות הנעברים, היו פקודים 33 ו40,000 ו730. You will know about this genealogy and the numbers, and we've spoken about them in the past. Bnei Falu, Eliav, Nemuel, Datan, Abiram. That's Datan and Abiram. Remember the famous, it stops in the middle of this genealogy and says, you know who Datan and Abiram? Who Datan v'Abiram, Kiriyah Ha'ida, Asher Hisu al Moshe v'Aharon. That's the guys that were involved with the Korach rebellion. Ba'adat Korach, that's Yotam Adonai. Right?
They get a good footnote.
It's funny.
So they get-
That's who they are. It's stopping to tell you. You know who those guys, those kids are? Those two, they're the ones, they're the ones that joined in with Korah to go after God.
In case you don't remember.
It's honorable mention.
Yeah, but now it's very important. Look, people think genealogies are like, why are we reading this? I'm going to sleep. That's what I want to talk about for a minute. V'teftach ha'aretz et piha, the land opened its mouth. Everybody knows. You read the story not too long ago. You know it, right? V'tebla otam, and it swallowed them. Ve'et Korah, ve'mot ha'edah, and it swallowed them and Korah, right? When in the death of the Edah, ba'achol ha'esh et ha'hamishim u'matayim ish. When the fire consumed the 250 people, Vayul and Nes, and they were for a
Became an example.
One of the
Now
hardest
read
verses to-
read the next 4 words, Eli.
Bnei Korach lo metu.
What does that have to do with the price of tomatoes?
That's so, it's, so you can mention them in your Tehillim lecture.
That's why I asked you.
I got it,
You got it.
okay.
Bnei Korach lo metu. So everybody goes, oh, you see, he had good kids. First of all, aren't we in Reuben? Who's Korah? We just read who's Korah?
Well, you told me that.
Levi, the guys that popped up in the abbreviated genealogy that was getting to Pinhas that never should have been mentioned. What do you mean all of a sudden Mishpat Korah? Who cares about them? They were completely out of the thing. Reuben, yes. Why Reuben? Because you have to start with the beginning. Shimon, the next one. Then you go to the genealogy that you're interested. Okay, everything is good. Then when you do that genealogy, you bypass Moshe, you go down to he married Elisheba, etc. Yochebed, because you want to get to Pinhas. What did it stop and start talking to you about Korah for? Well, if you all knew this genealogy in Shemot, what's the 2 center words of the genealogy of the 182 words? Which means, what's 182?
26.
That's right. That's correct. Whenever you see, what's the difference between the first and the second genealogies of the censuses, not genealogies, the one here and the one later?
I'm gonna guess 1820.
It's correct. Genius.
Well, listen, if you didn't know that.
You just counted it.
Right.
You just counted it.
Right, 603,550, 601,000.
You're saying the number of people.
Number of people, the difference between the two, 1,920 people,
Wait, this one is
which means how many times God's name come up in the Torah?
Oh, no, 6.
Yud Kei Vav Kei in the Torah, how many occurrences?
1800.
I don't know, sorry.
That's right.
Wow.
What genius! So that's 70 times 26, right?
Right.
70 times 26, 7 times 26. The genealogy in Bereshit, in the Adam genealogy. Who lived 182 years?
Oh, boy.
What is? Come on. Look it up. Everybody look it up so you'll never forget it.
What is your, I'm also on numbers like.
Go to chapter 5, right?
That's young for that.
And it says,
Oh, Lamech.
okay. And why was it Lamech? What is Lamech? Lamech is an anagram for Melech, of course, right? And what is his age? Read it.
When Lamech had lived 182 years, he begot a son.
Go
He
ahead.
named him Noah saying.
He produces Noah, right? He produces the one who's going to be right? He knows every single pasuk behind. Yeah. Don't you hate people like that? You want to hit them, right? You want to hit them, right? So we'll have this sport. Just say it, right? Right? You don't get annoyed. So jealous. I'm so jealous, right? Right. So it's 182, and then he gives birth to Noah. And then how long does he live after that?
595.
777.
And what's his total years? 595 and 182. 777. He's the 7 guy. Why is he the 777 guy? Because that's the old order that produced Noah. Noah is the new order. He's the cashier. He's the one who's going to be. He's going to be the one. Noah is going to be the one who is with his wife, 3 sons and 3 daughters-in-law. The 8 people on the boat floating on top of the ball of water of the globe that's going to save the world. The world, not the Jewish people, the planet. They're going to save the planet. There's apocalyptic event, right? Apocalypse. So the 182 there, whenever you'll see that number, right away you go, oh, 182. Oh, the genealogy, 182. There's a thread. It's not an accidental thread. It's there for you to catch because you're supposed to say, this is Nivuah. Oh, you're telling me an age of when somebody gave birth. No one lives to 182 years. No one lives 777. You're telling me something. You're conveying a message. You're giving me a genealogy. You're saying it in 182 words. God's name comes up. You're telling me something. You're conveying a very, very important message with that literary technique. That's a literary technique. That's all it is. It's not magic. It's not anything. It's like
literary technique in order to highlight
something very critical to you. Something, but a critical message. It's a critical message. It's a very specific message, and there's a thread going through these. That said, that's a technique, a literary technique. There's another literary technique comes up over here, and it's in your face, and you're correct, right? What does that have to do with Reuben? What are you telling me aside? It's okay to tell me a sidelight. Oh, you know who these guys are? These are the ones that did the thing, because you're talking, you say their names. You say, those are the guys that when you read those names, if you say, oh, that's right, those are the guys. They're the ones that joined the Korah. Good. What do you mean? What do you mean Korah's kids didn't die? And why are you saying it now? Right. So, of course, it's telling you something critical. And that is that in a monarchy, when the king dies, if his kids are still alive and the king was a bad guy, you're in big trouble if his kids survived, because they're going to step right into his shoes. They were brought up under him, and the odds that they're going to be good guys is very slim. So B'nai Korach Lo Metu is telling you that the problems that go on in the political arena didn't end with Korach. Not over. The problems are there and continue and will continue.
They certainly have continued till today.
That's correct.
So B'nai
That
Korach,
you took those, I was going to say, look at us today. Look at the political arena. Look what goes on. It's a big, big, big problem. Furthermore, what goes on in the religious sphere? They what?
They're not political.
they're perfect.
They're not
They're
political.
perfect. That's the problem.
They're not political.
Last week we had a class about Elisha, and we talked about magic and the world. A chunk of that's why I wanted to speak about it last week. A chunk of our nation, a chunk of it, a serious chunk, is primitive. And the people in Israel who are not religious, look at them and go, They're primitive, and they're right.
Right.
And they're right. They go, those guys, they call them primitive. They don't say they're stupid. They don't say they're evil. They say they're primitive. They're primitive. Look how they talk. Look at the way they approach things. They speak about things like primitive people.
But they're buying to the red string, those same people who
That is-
control the primitive.
I'm not
No,
talking-
the same people,
I'm not talking about people who wear red strings. I'm talking about Israelis who are not religious.
but they wear, those non-religious people who wear red strings. That's the problem.
No, I'm not talking about people who walk around with red strings. No, I'm talking about people who are normal people and looks and go, that guy is primitive. Look what he just said. Look how he talks. Look how he acts. Look what he's doing. Look how he represents the Torah. You're just off the wall. You don't have to wear a red string. You just be a guy. I'm not saying that guy's a great guy. I'm saying his observation is a true observation. And he's saying, he goes like this, they don't fight. The chief rabbi of the Sfaradim says, well, we can't be in, we have to be in the army. We're leaving. It's primitive, the statement. It's embarrassing more than anything. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You're the religious leader of a million people. You? What else do they do? Say anything that they say about anything. Everything is magic. Everything that ever happened is magic. And the whole you and everything that's we spoke about last week. So
the B'nai Korach, by the way, the only two that he mentioned, except for the Amram one, if you go to the lineage of Levi further down,
yes.
it's a straight down. They don't talk about anybody else in the family except Amram and his family, etc. So
Yes.
the only Levi mentioned. They're not part of the lineage of Shevet Levi even.
They're not going to be mentioned, you mean? Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
if you read that lineage, it's just
Yeah.
the Aaron and Moshe line.
Do you remember what I said about the Korah, all the genealogies? The genealogy of Esav. Who stands at the genealogy of Esav? Do you remember? What's Esav's wife's name? The one that comes from Aholibamah. Who's Aholibamah's son? Korah. What's the center word of the genealogy? It's 500 words. It's a huge genealogy. Huge. What's the center word? Korah. Aholibamah's son. So Korah has that center. Who's at the center of the abbreviated genealogy that we just read in Shemot? The center word. Korah. Another literary technique. Another amazing. You look at it right in the middle. And they're two different Korahs. Esav's son, Korah, is not Levi's. It's not this Yitzhar's son.
So what is the Torah telling us?
So why is that Korah? It's Esav. Esav, those that are going to be the guys. Esav is going to be a door of the people who are jumping up and down at the fall of Jerusalem, right?
Okay.
Right? The 137th Psalm, Al Naharod, they were standing and jumping and they were cheering. They were cheering on the day of the destruction, right? So this Korah is going to be a guy, when it says his kids didn't die, that's going to continue to carry on and create problems from the nation that are going to be of the worst possible thing and have the most disastrous effect on the nation. It means them literally. And that name will come up and be the name. That name will come up.
Actual descendants, or is it just
The name Korah will come up at the destruction of Jerusalem. Does everybody know it? At the actual destruction of Jerusalem will come up a guy that will come to Yirmiyahu, and the destruction is they already wiped out Jerusalem. And Gedaliah gets killed, and the guy who kills Gedaliah is a Jew, and Korah, Yohanan ben Kareah, his name is Korah, is the only other Kufrei Shait guy. He is the power guy, and he tries to kill the guy who killed Gedaliah, which is very good. And then he comes back and tells Yirmiyahu, whatever you say, you will do. You've been right for the last 40 years.
That's a good Korah.
Huh? And then Moshe Yirmiyahu comes back 10 days later and says, "Don't leave. Everything is going to be better. Don't worry about it. It's over. We got destroyed, but we can stay here now. and the Babylonians are gonna let us stay and don't go.
And they
And
leave.
And he says.
Korah says,
Let's
we're
leave.
leaving.
We're leaving in Texas.
But you just told me how you're gonna take, and whatever I say goes, everything's gonna be good. Tough. You're a liar. You just told me no, you and Baruch Ben Neriah, your sketch, your thing and everything, and we're leaving, and they go to Egypt, and they all die in Egypt. They all get killed, of course. So that's the statement that they didn't die is letting you that the problem is going to continue. That said, I'd like. It's 5 to 9. Okay, 5 minutes we're going to spend on this because I want you to see it, because I don't want to let it go. I want you to look at chapters 26, 20, 28. Just turn to it for a minute. We'll spend 5 minutes because, by the way, doesn't the time go very fast?
Yeah.
It's 5 to 9 already. I mean,
Yes.
I'm saying it because I'm working with Rabbi Ralphie. We work 4 to 6 hours a day on the podcast all summer,
Wow.
every day. So he comes in at 10:30 and we start talking. At 1:45 or 2:00, we turn around. And I'm not kidding you. Both of us same time goes like, we've been talking for 3.5 hours. It feels like we've been talking for about 30 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. It happened already numerous times. It's 2:00, like that. We didn't eat. We didn't do anything. The day. Yeah. You know why? Because we have to do a podcast. By the way, you have to see when we put on the podcast. In the office, the housekeeper, we have, over here we have more housekeepers than there are in the Plaza Hotel. You have to understand that, right? This is a bed and breakfast room here. So when they're working, forget about it. You drop something on the floor, someone comes in, it's impossible. So the vacuum cleaner is going. Now, when we're podcasting, we have to have silence, right? So I have to detach my phone, turn off the thing. We have a checklist, that he gets his phone, I check my phone, and then I check the house phone. I have a house phone, which I don't use, but I use the intercom. So I have to turn that on. I have a Google thing in there. I have to make sure the sound's off, all these things. So Rafi goes, make the announcement to the housekeepers. I get on the speaker. So now we want to put a sign outside the door, the light on air. And then he goes, and one in Spanish. A blinking light, on air, no sounds, no vacuum cleaners. The last time we did a podcast, everything was going perfect. When we tell them for the next hour, no, it's really quiet. They know we're doing recording. What happened in the office? We covered every base.
You forgot to press record.
My daughter Esther is about to give a class. She needed sheets. While I'm talking, the printer in back of me is a laser goes. So I said to him, he goes right. Right, and we don't want to stop the recording and hold the call. So I go, one sheet of paper, I'm telling him. 40 sheets. It was going on. Could never do it. It's very funny. So anyway, I want you to take a look. It's funny. So take a look here now at chapter 28. Do the korbanot. This is the kind of thing that when you read it, have a good one. How's everything? Okay, great. And Mabruk again. Yeah. By the way, he had a granddaughter from Leo. Yeah. That makes it.
He has 4 sisters and 4 daughters.
Yes, he has 4 daughters. Am I right? Yeah. Wonderful. Well, he has the fourth girl. Yeah. So when everybody reads this, everybody has a tendency, and these parashiyot that we're coming to now, what's going to happen with the war with Midian. Also, I'll show it to you next week if we have time. But right now, I want to just tell you what you're going to get now is the sacrificial procedures for all the holidays. This is when you read the Torah and you have the maftir, right? You take out the Torah and you read the one for that particular day. You're aware of this, Raquel? If you're not aware, okay. So from chapter 28, if you look at the very beginning, it says B'yom HaShabbat, right? You see that? And then after Shabbat, it says B'Rosh Chodshechem on Rosh Chodesh. And then after that, it's going to say Yom HaBikurim, right? I'm sorry, Chodesh Ba'arasat is going to be Pesach and Shavuot and Sukkot and so on and so forth. So that's the sacrificial procedures for the all the holidays, all the way through to Shemini Atzeret. If you go to chapter 29, verse 35, you see where it says Bayom Shemini Atzeret. Chapter 29, Kaftet, Lamed, you see it? Lamed here, right there. You see Bayom Shemini?
Yeah, 35.
Yeah, got it.
1 second.
No, 29, 35. Do you have it?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Bayom Shemini Aset Yelachem Kol Gavda Lo Tasu, etc., etc. And then well, they make it 31. Moshe. That's a big chunk of this week's parasha is given to that. Good. So I'd like you to just pass these out quickly, and we'll end the class on this note, because it's worthwhile for you to realize that whoever does, I have enough of them. So whoever doesn't have, let me know. There's another one. Morris, you have one?
Yeah.
This is in the book. This is a very, very important chart. One of the most important tables that I ever made, spreadsheets. If you look on the left-hand side over here, you'll see on the left that it says Temi total 354, Shabbat total 50. You see that? I'm just giving you a reference. Do you see that, Eli?
Yes.
Okay. What I want you to look at is when you go to Pesach, do you see that there, if you look to the right, it says 2, 1, 7, 10, 1. Does everybody see that to the right of the first word, Pesach 1? On the left, it says Pesach 1. And then you'll see that is the standard pod. And the top, it shows you pod, aisle, and kevis, right? You have 2 parim, one aisle, and 7 kevasim. That's the standard korban that you give. It's always a 2, 1, 7, and the number 10 in there is nothing more than a grand total for you to see of what it is, right? Besides that, with those 2, 1, 7 sacrifices, there's always a goat for a hatat, right? Eli, you read the Torah, so you're very familiar with this. That's right. Oh, that's the hatat one. And then you've said, yeah, you'll hear, remember those words when you read the Torah, Seir is hatat, right? Always on. So you have a total of 11 with that. Now, if you go down, I made in yellow, you see where it says total?
Yeah.
It says total, and in yellow it says that means you offered 14 pods, 7 ayil, right, at the end of the holiday.
Yeah.
At the end of the holiday, 49 kevasim. You're starting to feel like you're in the 7 world, Raquel. A lot of 7s here. So 7 and 7 is 14. Another 7, 70. 7 hatats. Eli, grand total to the right in red. 70. You gave 77 animals. Now, do you remember me telling you that 7 and 13 are key numbers, right? We've seen it a zillion times.
Yeah.
Well, here's zillion and 1. Mars, we'll do it with you, Mars. Take a look at Sukkot 1. What does it say you offer on day 1 of Sukkot? It's in purple or whatever, purple and yellow. 13. On day 1, you don't offer the 217 standard on Sukkot. You got it? You know the 217 standard of Pesach? On Sukkot, the second one is not 1, it's 2. And the third one, the kebes is not 7, it's 14. But the first one, which is a 2, starts off at 13. You see that, Morris?
Yeah.
What is it on day 2, Morris? What do you give? 12 to 14. What do? You decrease by 1 every day. You start at 13. What do you end up with on day 7, Morris? It's 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. First of all, Morris, isn't it interesting to end up with a 7 and a 13?
Yeah.
Those numbers,
Oh.
if you look at it, you got to be blind not to realize, Joey,
Yeah.
you started, you have 7 and 13.
Mhm.
Yeah, but look at the number that it totals. When you take the number 13 and you decrease it by 1 down to 7, how much does it all equal?
70.
70. 13 plus 12 plus 11 plus 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7 is
70.
70. Do you get the feeling we're talking about the number 7 over here? Now, the 2 is 14. The state, you're right. It was 1, it became 2. So instead of, right? So instead of before 2, 1, 7, so the ones, 7 of them bring you 7 on Pesach, over here brings you 14. Instead of the way it worked with the 49 on Pesach, 2, 1, 7, 7 is 49, but since it's double now, so it's 98. What's the number that it equals?
182.
Sound familiar?
7 times 26.
You said that fast. You very good.
I've been coming
You said that very fast. But now you have to add Eli. You have to add what? For the hatat. For the hatat. So now you have 189 total animals, correct, everybody? You have 70 plus 14 plus 98 plus 182 plus 7.
Yes.
Mars, grand total 189. What's 189, Mars?
7.
I put it down at the bottom for you. It's 7 times. 7 times 27 equals 189. You had Pesach 77. Now you have 7 times 27, which is 189. Now stop. Sheminiah said it breaks the pattern. No 2117. It's a 117. Are we good? Sheminiah said it at the bottom. You see 117?
Yeah.
Good. When you do that, then you have 117, and then you have 9 total, and then the hatat is 10. You add all the numbers from the top, all of them, every single one of them.
And 30.
And I made it yellow for you in big letters.
It can't be that bad.
What is the total? 5?
39.
What is 539? How much is that?
A lot of cattle.
That's a lot of
I put it
sevens.
on the bottom for you.
77.
It's 7 times 77.
777.
I wrote it for you. 539 is nothing more than 7 times 77. What? Listen carefully now. If you go all the way over to you see the number on your right? You see the number on your right that says 700?
Yeah.
You know what that is? That's if you take the special day sacrificial count plus the temid, plus the hatat yom kippurim, that's prescribed. You end up with how many animals? 700.
So every year, 700.
Everything is either 77, or the sub breakdowns inside are a multiple of 7, and the grand total is 2 grand totals.
So what is that?
539. I'm gonna tell you right now. 7. I'm gonna end the class on this note. 7 times 77 is 700. You should ask me, knowing me. You should say, where's the 800?
Yeah,
Where's the
Right,
8?
Where's the 8? Where's the 8?
That's the 7.
Sacrifices are not what the Torah wants. It's old order. Everything is old order. Everything is 7. So much
Total
so,
order is 7.
7. And when you see this, you know what it's telling you? Sacrificial procedure.
Don't do
Over.
You know what it is? It's 77. It's 777. It's 7 times 77. It's 7 times 27. It's 11 times 77.
It's old world.
It's a grand total of 700, so that you can't miss. There's another literary technique being utilized, but the literary technique that's being utilized is one that's telling you that, but it's not telling it to you explicitly, you need one of these, right?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Why?
All right. I put this, by the way, I put this in the book. There are a couple of people I've showed this to, they absolutely went crazy from it. They went nuts from this. And this is not magic, it's again a literary technique. You saw that number 182 come out there in your face. I put it in I bold-faced it for you. You see the 7 and 13, you see what's being done. You see these numbers that are being utilized purposely to tell you, listen, these numbers are flooded with the old order, flooded with everything that existed in the old order. But now, to answer your question, and we'll end on this note. So why didn't you just say it to me?
But they couldn't get it.
Couldn't handle it.
Can't handle the truth.
Thank you very much. You just can't handle the truth.
Yes, yes.
It's the same answer to why the Torah doesn't prohibit slavery. It works slavery into it, and you end up, when you're looking at the way slavery is described in Torah, he sounds like a guy who's working on your farm, and so on and so forth. It restructures what it is, because if it would have said it explicitly 2,500 years ago, you can't
understand it.
What happens when you talk to a Haredi today, a million? What do they tell you? They're waiting to reinstate sacrifices. If they had the Harabayit, they'd be sacrificing on it. What do you mean? You have to sacrifice animals? What would they look like? It'd be sacrificing animals over there. Primitive. How bad would the primitive look? They have a slaughterhouse on their they have a slaughterhouse at the top of their holy thing over there.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. They look like a bunch of ooga boogers. They look at them and they go, what the heck? What are they doing? Now, if you try to convince the world that they're not primitive, they'll laugh in your face, correctly so. Who are you sketching me? So the Torah is going to do that for you by saying to you, look here, but it can't say it explicitly. So when it does it and it gives you all these details, you are being prompted to look at this. Why are you giving me all these lists? Why are you doing all this? If you don't write it off to nothingness, and you don't write it off to foolishness, and you say it's prophetic, and you give it credit for transmitting a spectacular message, then you'll find it. And then it's there for you. It's underneath the surface. You got to dig it out, but it's there.
That's why the middle of Sefer Vayikra, as you pointed out.
That's correct.
Kedoshim to you. Yeah.
That's correct. It's there for you to see. The same thing as you'll use with slavery applies to what else? Sacrifice.
No, in slavery, 7 years.
Exactly. Exactly. Everything is limited. Everything, the whole thing of slavery has changed. If you hit him, if you this, if you do something wrong, you're not gonna. It's freezing you from being an animal to the guy. Of course, it doesn't want any slavery. How about monarchy? If you're a king, you can't have money, you can't have this, you can't have this, you can't have a lot of this, you can't have that. You have to, every day you have to read it. When you go into court, with the king has to read, you have to read, it's read, the Parashat Pinhas. The same thing with sacrificing. Why does the Torah spend a lot of time? 9, 10. One more minute? Why does the Torah spend a lot of time on sacrifices? I can't go all the details. Morris, quick.
Because it's a limitation. It explains every detail of what's going to be done without leaving it room for magical.
What do people who like magic, when does magic work?
When it's secret.
When you don't know it. What does the Torah do? The priests never told, the Kohanim never told them what they're doing behind when there's the. See what Torah says? You cut it, you slit it, snap your thing, you take out the insides, you break. You know when people hear that, they go like this, yuck.
That's when
and they go, where's the magic? So the Torah takes all the things that nobody knows what it is, and it tells you, when you reveal to the people what the thing is, they have a vision of it. Oh, the sacrifices, the smoke is going up, God is breathing it in, the barbecue is delicious, and he's getting happy, and he's, like those women who told Yirmiyah in Egypt, you know why this happened to us? Because we listened to you. We stopped making the sambuzak for the Queen of Heaven. If we would have kept making it, we'd be happy today. There are people in our community today who put household utensils in bread. Do you know that? They put those things, they put them in the bread. You know what they think? They really believe that it's going to have efficacy. They believe that. I don't even want to make fun of them. I'm telling you, they believe that if you take household utensils, you put them in a loaf of bread, something happens. 2,500 years ago, they sit with Yirmiyah and they tell him, we listened to you. That's why we suffered the consequences of being here today. How about you were all immoral and unethical and you were this? What happened to all the things we spoke about? Not interested.
So we have to move to the 8th.
To the,
We have to ignore the
Yeah.
7s and go to the 8th.
We have to
It would be-
forget about the 7th.
That's
Right.
correct.
And move to the
Yeah.
8th.
That's correct, which is the next sheet I was gonna show you, but next week.
Which is the
Ah.
holidays.
What?
So I love the day that's the holidays. and
Beautiful.
Shabbat.
I was
You have 80
That's correct.
days of,
Shabbat. It's gonna
Yom
turn it
Tov
into
and-
8. The holidays are gonna be 8, but it's gonna be a holiday called Shemini Aser.
Hmm.
The name of the holiday is 8.
right.
It's
Right.
the last one, and it makes it into a covenant, yeah.
And here we celebrated on the 9th.
And
No, we don't.
We do.
Hey,
When we're here, it's always the 9th.